Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're looking at the Reactivate Bumblebee and Starscream 2-pack. But before we begin, I must ask you of something. If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. Just getting it out of the way early. And if you do, thank you for your generosity. With all that crap out of the way, let's look at not these two figures, which are pretty good, by the way, but at the box, which barely fits in my light box. My God, I'm running out of room for boxes in my closet. I don't know where the Primes box is going to go when I get the 86 Optimus, but whatever. So, box, you got Starscream, you got Bumblebee, you got the clear plastic window on side. Bumblebee on the other side is Starscream on back. You get your product shots. Bumblebee, robot alt mode, 20 steps. Starscream, robot alt mode, 25 steps. Screenshots of the game that's probably never coming out. Yada yada. Bunch of great, wonderful stuff. Ugh. Okay. Now, with that out of the way, let's look at these two figures. Specifically, let's do Bumblebee first. I really like how this looks. It's a new aesthetic for Bee and all the Reactivate Transformers in general, and I am eating this up. It's obviously Bee, but it looks so different while being loyal to G1. He is very sharp with the shoulder pads, forearms, which I'll show you once I get him into a neutral stance, which is probably what he should have been in to begin with. Alright, better. So he is very sharp with shoulder pads, forearms, and the door wings. And even the head is like a combination of Bee and Cliff Jumper, to the point that if you showed me in red and I hadn't seen it before, I might have assumed Cliff Jumper. It could be either or. He does have black details on his left, mainly the door wing, the arm, and that little shin pad, which Starscream has those black details as well. But oddly enough, they are not on Prime or Soundwave. For whatever reason, they decided not to put them there. Bee's accessories are these two tiny submachine guns, is what TF Wiki calls them. I mean, they look pretty decent for how small they are. Everything is in my way. Everything is in the way. They can plug into his hands like that. Or, if I can get them out, they can peg into his shoulders to replicate the shoulder cannons from the 07 Bayverse Bumblebee. And the way they store is actually really cool. This hollow space underneath the arm is filled by the submachine guns, which is a really cool and effective form of weapon storage, and it's how they integrate into the alt mode, storing right there. Now then, articulation-wise, Bumblebee head is on a ball joint, will look up all of the way, and won't look down much, but if you push it, it's on a plate. If you push it, it will look down more, but then you gotta peg it back in. Shoulders pull a full 360, hinge out to the side. They can hinge further out, hinge outside, and they hinge up right here. The shoulder pad is separately articulated. You get bicep rotation. 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. Nothing at the wrists. No waist swivel, but due to the way he transforms, that's forgivable. Hips kick forward that far, back that far, in and out. Thigh rotation. Single joint bend at the knee, that bends 90, and feet can pivot forward slightly, backward slightly, tilt, and rotate. So Bee's articulation is pretty decent. Aside from the lack of a waist swivel, which, I mean, is made up. The lack of a waist swivel is kind of made up for by the other joints being as dynamic as they are, because most of the other joints, like for example the head, is very dynamic. Size comparison time. Let's do Soundwave first. So we got Soundwave. If I can get, everything is in the way, guys. Everything is in the way. I got my lights. I got my phone over here. Everything is in the way. But there is B and Soundwave, so they're about equal in height. Next up, we're going to do B's pack mate Starscream, who is a very large Voyager. And there is that comparison for y'all. Then finally, we compare him next to the one and only Reactivate Optimus. And I do like this scale. Bumblebee is only about half the height of Prime, which, oddly enough, works for me. Now then, transforming this thing is an ordeal the first time. It's fun, but the instructions are not good. So this is probably the best thing you can probably do is get a walkthrough on YouTube, because the instructions are not good. So first thing we're going to do is take the arms and position them like that, kind of. And then we're going to take entire upper torso and just kind of get it out like that. Now, you want to unpeg the head, grab it by this panel, and pull it up. And you don't want to push it too deep in there, or else it will be an absolute pain to get out, like it's being right now. Usually it's not this bad, but of course, it's on camera, so it's going to be a struggle. There we go. All right. Now you want to take the head, collapse it, peg it into there. Now take this. There are these slots down here, which will go into these tabs right here. Don't go all the way in. And then you want to take this assembly. It's on a very tight hinge joint. Just flip it around, peg that in, then collapse this, and it will snap into place. Now then, let's peg the doors in for now. So they have a little lip here that you can barely see. Yeah, they have that little lip that needs to go underneath the windows. So there's that. Next thing you're going to want to do is bring the arms in and kind of just rest them in there. Like that. Now, we can do the legs. So, begin to bring the waist up, hinge the legs back, and continue to bring this piece up until it fills in that gap. Then you can push this kind of booster piece. Okay, the legs. So, first thing you're going to want to do is extend this tire out. Then bring out this additional tire, which then you collapse this shin piece, because when you fold this back in, it does push that out. So you want to bring that out, collapse that, rotate the foot, collapse it, and where's this tab right here will peg into that slot. So just collapse that, make sure the foot clears. And now we need to reclose the door because it's going to come unpegged. So reclose the door. Then this is hard. There's a tab in here somewhere. There's a slot in there somewhere that tab will go into. Well, first of all, you got to bring out the front grille. Peg that in and take the arm and try to slide that in. It's kind of annoying. Do the same thing on the other side, which I'm going to do off camera. Bang, because I couldn't be bothered to do it on camera because my arms are tired. Then you want to take this grill. These slots will go into these tabs up front. Bumblebee in his vehicle mode. Now, with all that said and done, here we have B in his alt mode. I really like this. It's a little post-apocalyptic, buggy kind of vehicle. It is very, very compact. It's small. And while it can be a bit annoying at times to transform it, it is fun and is actually a really good alt mode. So long as it's clearing the ground, it rolls decently, but that's a once in a blue moon because there's so much junk down here that it finds that it's difficult for this thing to clear the ground. But when it does, it rolls okay. Now, alt mode size comparisons. First off, we have Soundwave. I just spent like 4 minutes transforming those all. But here we have Soundwave. And these are both like post-apocalyptic, like cyberpunky kind of vans, which I really do like. Next up we have Bumblebee's Packmate. Starscream is a big jet, like big jet. But there is that comparison. I don't know why I did that, I just thought it'd be fun. Now, final comparison I'm sure you can all guess is Prime. So there is the comparison between these two. I know you can't see it, but there's like a curve here, and it's a little bit annoying. But whatever. Now then, let's get into some final thoughts for B. He is really fun, and while the first few times transforming him are difficult, when you get the hang of it, it becomes really fun. With the Studio Series version of this coming out, which is just a flat re-release of this figure, but in the Studio Series, I'd say get the Studio Series version if you don't care about the other Reactivate toys, because if you get the Studio Series, you won't be able to get Starscream due to him being included in the 2-pack with Bumblebee, and you wouldn't want to buy multiple Bumblebees unless you're a really good customizer and are able to customize it into Cliffjumper. Speaking of Starscream, let's get into him. Come on. Stand, please. Thank you. I do really like how this looks. He's probably my favorite Starscream design. Granted, that is probably biased because it's my first Earth mode Starscream. Because this is my first Earth mode Starscream. I do like the head sculpt, although I know some people don't. Focus on the head, please. There you go. It's just satisfying to look at. The chest detail is really nice, and the lack of faux cockpit is greatly appreciated. I can see some people complaining this is too soft for Starscream, and while I do understand that, that's kind of the reason I like it. It's not overly sharp. That's kind of what I like about it. It can be angular when it wants to, like with the wings and shoulders, which I'm just now realizing that there is a scratch on the red shoulder pad that you can you cannot see that. I'll try to take a video of it. I'll try to take a picture of it and put it in a post, but there's a scratch on the red shoulder pad, which looks like someone spelled out XD on it, which is weird because I don't think this pre-owned. Not that big a deal if I'm just now noticing that and can't even see it on camera. Accessories are his null rays, which are asymmetrical, and they peg into his forearms rather than his shoulders, and I know a lot of people don't like that. It would have been nice if they'd pegged into shoulders, but I think the forearm solution is fine, and honestly, I think they would be more practical on his forearms. You can also store them on the wings in these little ports if you want them to. Speaking of the wings, you can arrange them into some... They look really cool, and you can arrange them in multiple ways. You can have them flat like this. You can swoop them back like this. Or you can have them flipped down like this. It kind of looks like Dreadwing from Transformers Prime, which I think is a decent look. Anyways, let's get these back to normal. One problem I have with this figure is its feet. They are loose. Set them down. Here, I'll show you right now. I have them arranged in a certain way, but I set him down most of the time, and he just leans backwards and sometimes falls. Observe. So, but there is a fix for that. I do have him displayed in the air, so that negates that issue. But if you don't want to do that, there is a fix. You can bend the knees forward slightly, so then when the heels go back, they catch these wings, and it looks like he's standing up straight. And these thrusters actually fold out a bit to fill out the back of the legs, which is really cool, although they are easy to collapse. So that's how you can get him standing up straight, or you can just, always display him in the air like the flyer he is. Speaking of which, he does not have the head articulation of a flyer. It only looks up that far, barely. It looks down, can tilt slightly, it can rotate. Shoulders can do a full 360, but of course the wings get in the way. Can go out to the side, biceps swivel, slightly over 90 at the elbow. Inward moving wrists, which you can combine those joints to get sword wielding wrists if you want to. You do get a waist swivel on this guy. These pieces of hip armor shift to allow the hips to kick forward all the way. Yeah, see, that collapses a lot. It's supposed to be folded out like this, but it collapses a lot. Can go back a bit. Can go in and out. Thigh swivel. Aforementioned knee bend, that goes to 90. Ankle pivot. And toe down and up slightly. So he's decent. He's pretty well articulated. Now, for size comparisons. First up, we're going to compare him next to his fellow Decepticon Soundwave, which I'm not sure how I feel about Soundwave being shorter than Starscream, but I mean, hey, that's the scale that the developers chose, or the toy makers chose, or whoever chose. Next up, we got his pack mate, Bumblebee. So I do like that scale of Starscream being a bit taller than B. Starscream is a large Voyager, and that wingspan helps him out a lot. However, in terms of height, Prime is taller. In terms of height, his smokestacks are just slightly above Starscream's wings. And if you don't want to count that, then he is still taller. But Starscream has more mass to him. Prime might be taller, but Starscream has more mass. Now then, let's do Starscream's transformation. So first of all, unpeg the null rays from the sides of his arms. Then, take the hands, fold them in, rotate the bicep out this way so that way you can see the hand. Now you want to open this. It's a clip right there that clips around that pin in there. According to TF Wiki, that can be fragile, so be careful. Rotate the head, collapse it, close this up, fold out this and fold this out, and that's your cockpit. Next up, you want to open the backpack up. Now, this is very specific order of operations. You rotate this, bring all of this around, rotate these wings, and peg this black part into the red part. And we can just leave it that way for now. Then you can take the arms, shift them down like this. Take these little winglets and flip them out. Then we can take chest intakes, flip them up. They will, in fact, snap into place. They will also secure the winglets in place. My freaking arm is tired. God dang it, this is a long video. So, collapse the heels. Bring these wing pieces out. Collapse these thrusters if they haven't collapsed themselves already. Take the shin and detach from the thruster and fold the foot in. Come on. Alright, now we can start collapsing this whole thing. So collapse this. These thrusters will peg into here. Make sure everything here is nice and flattened out. Take the tail fins, bring them up. Now, there are tabs there, which the ports for the, on the sides of the arms for the null rays will peg into. And then there is a slot in there that these two tabs will, on the feet, will peg it into. So just compress that, peg them into place. Now for your, make sure this is all in. Now for your kind of mandatory weapon storage, take the null rays, put them into those ports on the underside of the wings. And with all that said and done, there's Starscream in his jet mode, which I really like. As I've said previously, this is my first Earth mode Starscream, and I'd say I got a really good one to start off. I do not know what this alt mode is based on, and apparently TF Wiki doesn't know either, because they don't say crap about what jet it's based on. Looks really cool regardless, with 3 jet boosters and null rays on the bottom of the wings. Tail fins look really cool, and they're articulated. They each have 1 hinge joint, so you can flatten them out, you can do whatever you want with them. So they're accurate to real jets in the fact that these tail fins are articulated. The undercarriage kibble isn't bad, with only the legs hanging out, and they do not look bad whatsoever. Like, it doesn't look bad. The worst part about it is the hollow space where the cockpit is. I really like these little winglets in the front, and I've been talking way too long about this jet. I've been talking for way too long. Let's get this video done. So, let's do size comparisons now. Soundwave. There's that comparison. He can go on top of Starscream. I do think the alt mode comparison is better than the bot mode comparison. Next up, we have his packmate Bumblebee. There is that comparison. You have Reactivate Optimus, which this is not accurate whatsoever because jets are massive, but scale is going to scale, toy scale is going to toy scale. It's going to do all of that crazy crap. Now, let's get into some final thoughts for Starscream. This is a pretty good figure, and I recommend it. I recommend both him and Bumblebee. I believe the 2-pack is still for a decent price on Amazon. I didn't fact check that while writing this script. I'll look it up and put it in here or something. But These two make a fine in addition to my collection, and I think they will for you. If you just want one, Bumblebee has the Studio Series figure. Hopefully the others will get that treatment. If not, I'm sure there are a lot of people selling Starscreams on eBay and stuff. Now then, I've already taken up plenty of your time, so goodbye and good night.